reaching the promised land through your own merits. A teaching of the Lord. Thus says the Lord. This my Son, through whose faculty I am delivering this message to you, does not pretend to pass himself as Jesus. He is one of the many spokesmen whom I have prepared during this period to allow my divine word to reach you. Prepare yourselves in order for that voice to reach your heart and arise to the true life. Verily, I say to you that my word is the bread of the Spirit. For that reason, he who eats of it will never hunger again. Be before me like children, and then I will tell you as in the second era. Let the children come to me, for the kingdom of heaven is for them. My kingdom is for the clean of heart. So now that you know it, you will not turn away anyone from my presence, not the adult, who, as a sinner, comes before the master, because he comes to be purified with my word, nor the child. For though you might believe him to be lacking in understanding in the teachings of my work, he possesses a spirit many times more evolved than yours. In this era, in which I manifest myself through the human faculty, I am clarifying my past teachings. My spirit is above all flesh and above every spirit during this period, so that my divine presence will be felt by all, and you can contemplate the pathway that will lead toward eternity. If humanity has given my teachings of past eras a distorted interpretation, today you could also fall into the same error. Behold, that in spite of coming in spirit, there are moments when I must materialize my teachings to make them comprehensible to you, since you have not been able to prepare yourselves, being watchful and in prayer. You should know that the goal of my spiritual doctrine is the perfection of your spirit, so that he will be able to possess peace and happiness that every spirit aspires with the knowledge of my truth. Before giving you your cross, I have given you strength and wiped away your tears. Blessed is he who has wept on my lap, because he will feel that his pain has disappeared. Blessed is he who, by obeying my law, will be able to feel joy in his spirit, for it will be the fruit of his merits. If you wish to follow me, always come unblemished before me. You will not need jewels or luxurious attire. I only want limpidity in your spirit and in your body, so that you may carry me within you. My word is clear, and in spite of it, sometimes you do not want to understand it. During the second era, I spoke much through parables and in a figurative meaning, because men of that era only understood me in that manner. But despite that fact, on some occasions they pretended not to understand me. But the fact is that mankind wants to touch what is divine with their hands, and they hasten away from the material renunciations and spirituality, which are the means through which they can behold the light of my divinity. Have spirituality, be cleansed of heart, and in the banquet of the Father you will never be troubled, and you will understand and feel everything he speaks to you. You will not feel unworthy, nor will you have the urge to leave. Therefore, he who leaves my table, it shall only be to go forth and preach the truth of my teaching with his life and his deeds. O disciples, I am within your heart. That is why Jesus died among you, to live forever in your heart. By listening to my word, your spirit will evolve. Behold, that through the deeds of my disciples, I shall be recognized during this era. Pain has purified your body and your spirit, so that in thought, by means of the prayer, you can even transport yourselves to faraway regions to fulfill your delicate mission of making peace and conveying light to your brethren. When your body ceases its daily chores and goes to rest in bed, the spirit takes advantage of that time to be free and occupies himself in missions assigned to him, in works of the Lord. But if your heart, instead of resting from its preoccupations and vicissitudes, or of elevating itself in prayer, surrenders to bitterness, the spirit will have to keep busy to overcome the weakness of the flesh, unmindful of other missions. That is how you deprive yourselves of your virtues, because of the lack of faith and spirituality, instead of thinking that he who forsakes his obligations for others, and is only concerned with himself, is egotistical toward his fellow men, and therefore does not have compassion for his spirit. Practice my teachings so you may be strengthened. And when those who come to your door deny and slander you, you may have the peacefulness in your spirit and gentleness on your lips. If you continue with your preparation that way, you will see that with your prayer, the sorrow they may have concealed will withdraw from those hearts, as proof that they were my disciples before. If, on the contrary, you try to defend my doctrine, returning blow by blow, blasphemy by blasphemy, then you will see how the multitudes will overwhelm you, and they will find reasons to demonstrate that you cannot be my disciples because of your lack of love and charity toward your fellow men. Do not allow that the sanctuary that I have built within your heart be destroyed by profane concepts. Live on alert, enter into prayer so that the storms will not surprise you. When you listen to the prophets of this era, whom you call seers, who, in their visions, speak to you about dangers and predict ordeals, elevate your thoughts to me, to ask me for strength, to resist, or for a light to solve that difficulty, imploring my charity for all your brethren. It is time to pray. The homes that live in peace should pray for the homes that are destroyed. The widows who have found resignation and comfort should accompany in the thoughts of those who travel without direction, driven mad by their suffering. Mothers who rejoice seeing yourselves surrounded by your children, send your consolation to those who lost theirs in the war. It does not matter if your eyes do not see the result. Your faith is enough, and that you wish to share with the grief of your brethren, so that I can send to those whom you pray for my peace, my consolation and my charis, the bread and my forgiveness. I have endowed you so that you may obtain, through merits, the promised land. I will always help in your preparation, so that you may be strong and rise like the good warriors of this cause, when confusion is unleashed, and peoples arise against peoples, and nations against nations. Today I say to you, blessed is the traveler who for a long time comes in search of the divine light. Oh, transient travelers of this world, who today are here and tomorrow will not know where their spirit goes. Truly I say to you that it is not death that awaits you, but the eternal life, because I have not ordained death for the spirit. However, I wish that at the hour of my calling, you will find yourselves like the faithful virgins of my parable, awaiting the arrival of the bridegroom with their lit lamps, so that during that moment that you hear my voice calling you, you will be able to leave your cup of bitterness that you have drunk in this world, and that no one at that moment will take away what you are about to obtain through so much suffering. Here, the eyes of your body, tired of weeping, will be closed, while the eyes of the spirit will be opened to a true life, on reaching the threshold of eternity, there where your Father awaits you with the reward which He has promised you. How many, dead to a life of grace, have resurrected at this time, listening to this word? How many who are weak have raised themselves, filled with strength? How many timid and desperate have been filled with courage and have found peace? The multitudes which I announced to you during the first days of this communication, that I said would arrive, are the dead and the needy. You are the ones. During your solitude and in your bitterness, you waited day after day for the moment when I would give you the good news of my arrival. You have arrived under the shade of the tree where I waited for you, attracted by the rumors of my presence and my miracles. And here you are, converted into disciples of the Divine Master. I will still be with you for some time, so that you may engrave my teaching within your spirit, and not fall into profanation or adultery. I wish that when your lips are ready to speak about my doctrine, your heart confirms with deeds of love the word that the Master taught you. Be careful not to hurt the heart of your brethren, or to extinguish the lamp of faith, for among the multitudes are my new disciples. Do not separate them from this path. Do not believe yourselves to be the only ones of whom I will avail during this time. You will be called the first, and they will be the last. They will also arrive tired of traveling and suffering, and they will say to me, Father, I have come exhausted before you. I wish I could have found you a long time ago along my path. I would have avoided much of my suffering and errors. but I say to you, the leaf of a tree does not move without my will, and those who speak to me thus should know that also among my laborers are those who in their heart say to me, how happy I would be if I were still free to enjoy all that the world offers me. This is the one who would not take advantage of the trials, which are lessons that life offers, nor is he able to understand the meaning of my teaching. That is why he is weak, and in his weakness he tempts his own self. Who will be able to conceal from me some intention or one of his thoughts, when I dwell within the heart of each man? That is why you should not be surprised when I say that among you will emerge those who will persecute and attempt to destroy what I have achieved. Some of those who today say are disciples and laborers of the Lord, tomorrow will rise against my doctrine, fighting against those whom they had regarded as their brethren. That is the reason I always say, be watchful and pray so you will not fall into temptation. May each one be satisfied with the gift and responsibility that has been entrusted to him, and not to go forth along the pathways and to other regions, as long as the proper moment is not yet marked and his mission made known to him. I say this because there are some who are teaching without being prepared, and there are also those who become guides of congregations without possessing the rightful preparation. On the other hand, I say to others who do not believe they are able to comply with their missions which I am entrusting to them, how can you consider that which is entrusted to you by the one who knows what each one of his children is capable of doing impossible to fulfill? How have you believed that my communication during this period is possible? Is it not perhaps through the faculty of man? There are those who are in doubt about my communication in this manner, regarding the spokesman as an impostor, and of these I have availed, calling them and preparing them to carry out the task which they held in doubt, and giving them proof of my truth. Many of them have been of my best spokesmen, for their faith and joy with which they have worked. On realizing that through their lips divine words poured out, they have turned their eyes toward me to bless my name. Since then, they do my will and not theirs, recognizing that he who does his own free will on earth does it to exalt himself, and therefore withdraws from me. The Master says to you, today it is my word that guides, corrects, and teaches you. After 1950, it will be only your conscience. Deliver my teaching with all its purity, manifest my work with all its clarity. I have not called you so that you perish in this struggle. On the contrary, I want you to be triumphant like good warriors. But may that victory be of peace which you may have sowed, of health which you have given the sick, of light which you have spread in that world of darkness. O laborer who comes to offer me his work, I welcome you. You come from those fields which I have entrusted to you, and you ask me, O divine Master, my work, my struggle, is it pleasing to you? And the Master answers, your deeds are still not perfect. You have not yet become my disciple. I regard you as a young beginner whom I love very much, and that fulfillment you offer me, I receive. Your spirit arises, giving off his first footsteps, humbling the flesh and lending an ear to my new teachings during the present phase. During the first era, you knew the name of Jehovah, and you beheld my manifestations in the bosom of the people of Israel, to whom you have always belonged. And I said to you, behold the way, and the pathway that I spoke to you about was the law. Later, my word, incarnated in Jesus, spoke to you, and you were illuminated with my parables and precepts, and in them I said to you, everyone who complies by loving and forgiving his fellow men is within the path of my law. And during this era, you again find yourself along the pathway of your evolution, and you have before you the same divine spirit, teaching and guiding your footsteps. I have come as a radiant light, and everyone who prepares himself will be able to contemplate me. Mankind has not risen during this era to comply with my mandates, and I am waiting for them. I have cultivated the spirits throughout the eras, and you still have not presented me with fruits worthy of me. I have dictated perfect laws over all beings, and the spirit of man, which is the masterpiece of the Creator, has not perfected himself. After inspiring and advising him unceasingly, he has not known how to hear or obey his God. You have not made good use of the gifts that I have given you, and you only manifest your pain to me. If there is suffering in you, it is because you have broken the law. Having been endowed with strength, you have weakened. I want you to know that you, among all the creatures of this world, are the favorite being, gifted with a spirit and a conscience. I have given you freedom of will, so that you may take by your own choice the straight road that leads to me. It is not the flowery path that I offer you, but that of prayer, penance, and struggle, and along that road your conscience will guide you. The time approaches when you will reach me in spirit. You are in the third era, in the sixth stage near the threshold of that perfect life that awaits you. Do you want to reach me and enjoy the peace that I have promised you since the first eras? Everyone says to me, "Yes, Master," because the cup that we drink is bitter and our journey burdensome. Each day your work becomes more difficult, and you stumble because of the incomprehension of your fellow men. But my word, which is healing balsam, comes to calm your afflictions. That fountain of grace that you allowed to go dry, today is overflowing anew to give you strength. Keep in mind that the year of 1950 draws near, and the people are not in unity. Still, the 12,000 spirits of each tribe are not prepared, and if that year comes and you do not present to me the number I have asked, who will designate the chosen after that period? By chance, are you going to indicate and mark their destiny? No, my people. Only I write with indelible letters the mission that corresponds to each spirit. How much longing there is in me to manifest my work among other nations. The time draws near when this communication will be closed, and these lips will not speak through these means. I am he who speaks in this era, who cultivates and prepares the spirits, for on earth there are no teachers of the spirit. And in the same way that these multitudes of yesterday were small, today they have multiplied. That is the way I want to reunite my disciples in other nations. On seeing my constant struggle, you say to me, "Master, how great is your work, how abundant your word, and how much love and power you spread upon it. The hearts are converted and the sick are healed, feeling your presence. Hear me to the end, so that you may learn from me." I have manifested myself spiritually among all nations, as it was written. The prophet said, "During the time of war and tribulations, the Holy Spirit will come to communicate with men. Mankind seeks me, they aspire for my word, and their anguish and confusion are so great that they are unable to find me when I am so close to them. In some cities, the temples have been destroyed, the books have been thrown into the fire, faith has been attacked, and the sacred laws have been denied, and in some nations, my name has been erased from the heart of its inhabitants. But nevertheless, I have announced to you that the celestial kingdom shall find its place in the hearts of men. Who will be able to destroy that inner temple if you know how to build it within your spirit? How great is the struggle that awaits you, O my people! Soon the knowledge will reach the world that the people of Israel have returned to earth, incarnated in different nations, and I shall avail myself of them. They will know that you are not descendants of those people by blood, but of the Spirit, and as in past eras, witnesses of my return and of my manifestations. You who represent me will convey my message to mankind. I have sent you to illuminate the earth, to preach righteousness and to give testimony of the truth. You shall place the conscience before the spirit and before the flesh. And you will teach that the former is your guide, and all materialism will fall, and the spirit will again be elevated, converting himself into my disciple. You forget your own afflictions this instant in order to think about those of others, because you realize that in other lands grief has filled the bitter cup of its inhabitants, and that pain even reaches me, because what suffering does the Son feel which will not reach the Father? However, that pain is purifying and illuminating man, It is making him feel the touch of justice, and it will make him return to the pathway. Only pain will make him meditate and recover his health and the peace which he has lost. My presence and my love accompany all my children in this hour of trial. Among those called at this time are the ones who have asked the Father for more time for freedom, which I have granted them. But when the moment has come to ask them for an accounting, I have asked them, "What have you done with the freedom that you have asked of me?" And they have only managed to answer, "We have done our own will, and the fruit that we have gathered is very bitter." These have returned to me weary, bitter and displeased with the fruits which they desired for so long, poisonous and deadly fruits. The Father waited for them. He knew they would come back, and when they have returned, I have asked them if they still want to follow that pathway of earthly pleasure, or carry the Master's cross of love and follow him. And they have responded with their heart that they will follow me to the end. I say to all of you, pray so you will be strong over your physical body. While a great portion of mankind is suffering because of the law of violence, which still prevails among men, and because injustice reigns, I descend and appear spiritually among you to nourish you, so that you may regenerate yourselves, that you comprehend my divine teaching, and afterward be able to perform perfect deeds among mankind. Toward that end I have planted my trees, which are the big or small congregations in different cities, villages and districts, trees that will give shade to the traveler who comes along extensive roads and deserts, and who shall give their fruits of life to those who hunger. Love these trees. Cultivate them with your love and your zeal. Don't lash out at them as if you were a whirlwind, because you see them bare of leaves and others growing old, for their branches will become new trees. Do not forget the day you received your first shade and ate the first fruit. I have regarded you as small children. When you begin to take your first footsteps as laborers, I am entrusting you with small fields so that you can learn to sow. Those first fields are the heart of your dear ones. They are your friends and also your enemies. I inspire you in each case. Thus, when the storm has approached your fields, it has found you with temper in your spirit. And once the time to reap and harvest comes, with joy in your heart, you shall take the gathered seed to the Father's granaries, the same which will be in the future, your nourishment in eternity. A long time ago, the Master invited you to sow in his fields, but some were deaf and ungrateful the first time. But the Father kept on waiting for them, because he knew that on the second call they would arrive, full of repentance, asking for his forgiveness. Some, in order to believe and follow me, asked me for proof, health and peace which they could not find on earth. And when these were healed and saw peace reign in their homes during their existence, they said to me, "It is you, Lord." Blessed is he who recognizes the works, which at every moment I manifest along his path, because he gives the Father joy. Woe betides the one who is doubtful or distrustful because he feels alone, lost and weak. Listen, disciples. In the second era, on a certain day, Jesus sailed in a boat accompanied by his disciples. The waters were peaceful, and those men were in ecstasy with the words of the Master. However, Jesus remained asleep at a time when the waters began to get hectic and a storm was drawing near. During some instances, the boat became like a toy for the waves, and those hearts were seized with fear, to a point of awakening the Master with distressed voices, saying to him, "Master, save us, for we will perish." To which Jesus, beholding them gently, extended his hand toward the waters, which were instantly pacified, and turning to his disciples, he reproached their doubt, saying to them thus, "Oh, men of little faith. Sometimes I behold you in that manner, weak in faith. It suffices many times for the bread to become scarce on your table, or that the doors of employment are momentarily closed, in order for doubt to take hold of you, forgetting that you are in the boat with Jesus, who also says to you, 'Oh, men of little faith.' When you are being spoiled, you believe me, but when I test you, then you doubt. Do not think that I could send suffering to you, for it does not exist in me. It is a seed that was born within the heart of man, of which I avail myself, so that its fruits may awaken and illuminate him. Because I am he who from the very darkness makes the light appear. How many there are who during the pain in their trials have called me an imperfect and unjust God, without realizing that the affliction which they are reaping they themselves sowed, and only through it will they be cleansed and free of their burden. When will humanity give death to suffering? When will their wars and their sins cease? My voice, like a bell, says to all spirits in this period, wake up, arise, listen to your conscience, so that you can penetrate with submission and meekness along the pathway of the law. You are promised a time of peace and grace, in which pain and tears will disappear. But first you will have to struggle and persevere in righteousness. When all men arise, encouraged by this ideal, the confusion of Babel, which prevails during these times, will disappear, so that all races come close together in an embrace of eternity. May peace be with you.